Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Caitlin and today we're going to be making a really fun Halloween shaker card using this really cool sign stamp from the Hildy Sweet November Stamps stamp set, these glowing stars and moons from Twiddler's Nook, and then some classic Lawn Fawn like backup pieces, the grassy die, and then the moon and stars stencil. So this card is part of the Twiddler's Nook Instagram hop, the spooktacular Instagram hop that she posts, or like she coordinates, I guess, on the 31st of every month leading up to Halloween. So this was the last one before the big one, which is obviously on Halloween. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to my post. And if you're watching this within a couple days of when it's posted, you can go hop along for a chance to win a gift card. But I had so much fun making this card and I knew it was going to turn out so cute. So I went ahead and filmed it so I could share it here with you now. So I started by putting my moon mask down first, and we're going to start making our sky. So I like going in with a lighter color right around my moon first. It just gives me kind of a base to work off of. So I went in with Lost Shadow, starting on the stencil and working my way onto the paper. And now I'm going in with Uncharted Mariner. I know a lot of other people use like the prize ribbon or some of the other more like true blue kind of blues, but I love Uncharted Mariner. I don't know what it is about it. It's got like the tiniest little hint of like barely of a green teal kind of color to it. It's just my favorite. So I'm going in with all of these are oxides. I started with that Uncharted Mariner for my actual sky. I'm working my way so that I have the darkest color on the outer corners. I tapped off some of the excess and went lightly over where that Lost Shadow kind of ends. And you can see my oxide dedicated brushes are the small Simon Says stamp brushes. So it does take me like a minute, but I have found that it's not worth it for me to have a second set of like the large blending brushes. Just for oxides, I don't use them all the time. So my large ones are more for my ink, like my distress inks or like my ink based, not pigment based inks. So yeah, to make that moon glow even brighter, I went around the moon mask one more time with antique linen. And then to darken and deepen up my sky and give it more of that spooky Halloween feel, I went around the edges with black soot to really intensify everything. And if you didn't want this to be a shaker card, now at this point I would go in with my white like splatter. I prefer the Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. That's it. And I would do like little speckles all over with a brush so that way we get the stars. But I knew I was going to be going in with the glow in the dark shaker bit stars, so I skipped that. I like to add a little bit of antique linen to my moon once I take the mask off before I put in my stencil craters, just so it's not so stark white. And then I'm holding over the Lawn Fawn Moon Crater stencils. You guys know that I love the Tim Holtz moon masks, but they're getting harder and harder to find now, right? They were like a limited release, I guess. And I always feel bad when I can't like share the link to that. So the Lawn Fawn one is also beautiful. It's a little more like stylized, a little less realistic, but I think it's absolutely adorable. I think it fits this card perfect because the other elements we're using are a little more whimsical. So I don't need it to look like a picture of the sky or like the actual moon in the sky. To create a little bit of depth in my shaker, I decided to take this Lawn Fawn Grassy Hills stencil, and I'm making that hill black. I went in with the black soot because it covers those other oxides really well. And that's going to get mostly covered up anyway. It's just going to give that little bit of a rolling hill in the background kind of effect. So then I stamped out my main image. I love this stamp so much. Amy from Sweet November Stamps like knocked it out of the park with this set. I've never seen anything else that looked like this and had this like very spooky, fun like vibe and aesthetic to it. So it says Transylvania, Loch Ness, Salem, Roswell, and Sleepy Hollow. So something a little bit for everybody. And I'm going in with some very, 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 very dark brown, that E49 on the right hand side, because I know that my moon is going to be on the left hand side. And so this part would be very shadowed because it's night and it's away right from the moon. So I blended that out with some 79 and 77, and I'm leaving little slivers of white open for my highlight, and we're going to do a big jump for that highlight so that it looks dramatic. It's easier to do this when you have a wider image to work with. This is very like spindly wood, but I think that in the end, the idea still comes across really well. So we're going to jump all the way up from 77 to 70 so that this highlight is a little more dramatic and noticeable without looking like pure white. And I'm going to go over that 70 with a wide 00 as well, so it has a little bit of that yellow glow. I also added this to the signs, but I quickly realized that it was not going to be yellow enough for the signs. So we're going to also bring in a Y11. And I'm going to add that to the little like moss areas too, so that it has a little glow when we add our green. For the green, I'm going YG99 as my like base green color. I think that it's perfect for Halloween. All of my colors are not bright. Like every color that we're going to be using is a little more on the like desaturated, spooky, gems, jewel tone. That's the word I'm looking for, kind of colors, so that it all leans into that spookier feel. So after the 99, we did some YG97. And again, I'm leaving some white space on each one so that we get that glow. And I'm going to achieve that glow with the YG03, another big jump. And it's just going to kind of wake everything up versus those like really dark muted YGs. Sorry. For the lantern, I decided to go in and make it kind of a bronze lantern. So I had some E39, then I'm going to jump families and we're going to go to our YRs. We'll do some 27 and 24. And then I decided there wasn't enough contrast in there, so I'm going to add just a little touch of that E59 to the bottom and the underside of the lid. I'm coloring in the sky behind it with that blue. We're going to come back to that after all of our signs are colored and fill in the rest of our blue. So for my Transylvania side, I decided to go purple. So I started with that V99 just because it's so dark. And then I'm with V28 and 25. But what I'm really trying to do is not cover up the words. So my darkest colors for each one, I'm really adding to either side and kind of flicking them over. And you'll see if I have a longer flick through, I'm trying to keep them above and below the letters. My Salem one, I went red. So that's like in the 89s, 59, 56. And that one got a little covered, but I think once it's all done, you can still see it pretty well. Loch Ness obviously had to be like a tealy green. So we went with some BGs, super dark, and then the 70 family, which I just love. They're so pretty. This one was a little bit better on that scale of being able to read them. My Roswell, I went with some BV markers, so like a softer kind of blue. I stuck with those 20s because they're so like beautifully, I don't know, like a gray. They're like a gray, blue, violet, which is crazy because the higher the number, the less saturated it should be. And those are still pretty low in the 20s, but that whole family is just perfect. And then for Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman, obviously I had to go orange. I decided there wasn't enough contrast, so I brought in some E09. And then this little bat is getting the easiest, most simple coloring of his whole life with 2C cool gray markers. And now is when I'm going to go in and add my sky all the way around. So Sweet November Stamps doesn't make coordinating dies. And there was no way I was going to try to fussy cut this with all of those tiny little bits and how detailed this is. So to give myself some extra wiggle room and not have a harsh white outline, I decided to fill in the sky all the way around. And my B99, I have found from lots and lots of practice, because I use it so much, matches the Uncharted Mariner really well. So that way when I fussy cut it out, you can see I have that little border. It wasn't stressful to cut out, and it still goes with the rest of what we're using. So to create my shaker, I'm taking this rectangle frames die from Pink and Main. It's one big die and it cuts out like a bajillion frames. And so now I have a bunch of extra black frames that I can keep handy, but I love that it's stitched rectangles. We're going to take the biggest one, which is a full A2 sized frame. And I'm also going to take that Lawn Fawn grassy stencil and just through the middle, like way taller than I need it to be, cut that grass. And now I can kind of slide it down so that I know I'm going to see just a hint of my stenciled grass in the background. And I'm going to just use some washi tape to hold that in place. And then with scissors, I just cut it right across the bottom. So that way I know it's like the perfect height for my sign. Once I had it trimmed, we're going to glue it together. I kind of wish that I had used, I have like teeny tiny 1/8 inch like tear tape. And I wish that I had used that, because you're going to see in a minute, I got a little messy with my glue and it sticks out, right? You can see it there. And so it dried a little shiny. It's not enough for me to like not love the card, but if I could do it over again, I probably would have used that tiny, really thin tape, because it would have just saved me the hassle. I wanted to stamp my sentiment onto the grass. I knew that from the beginning. And I thought that it would be nice to have it pop with white, because the moon was glowing. My stars and moons shaker, when they're not glowing and it's just daylight, they are white. So we're going to stamp one of the sentiments from that stamp set, the Hildy stamp set, that says it's the most spooktacular time of the year. And I had to really, I don't know what was up with this paper. I had to really anti-static powder tool it. Like I had to do this twice. I had to brush everything off and do it again. But once I had it good, it was perfect. I went in with my Pink and Main frosting embossing powder. That's like my go-to white. I think that's what I used. Actually, it might be cream. Now that I'm thinking of it, I might have gone in with the Simon Says stamp cream. If you need to know, check the description. I will double check it and make sure the right one is listed down there. I am cutting up some old stamp packaging for my shaker window. And I have this fun little tool. It's like a little clicky pen, but the pen part that clicks out is a tiny blade. It's actually for washi art, is what I was at least given, how I got it, from Simply Gilded, which is an amazing washi company. If you haven't checked them out or haven't heard of them and you like washi, you should look into them. Irene is amazing. This is that tiny tape, right? So this is the tape that I wish I had used to connect my frame to my grass, but it's fine. So once I had my my background tape kind of added, I attached my sign, just kind of holding it over in the front, and then I could add my adhesive onto that as well. So now when I add my packaging, it'll stick to the sign, the grass, and my frame perfectly. We'll have it mounted as one solid piece. It just made the whole process a lot easier for me. So we're going to press that down nice and flat, make sure that everything is adhering the way we want it to. And then I'm going to go in with this thin foam. It's pretty tall. I wish it wasn't quite so tall, but it's the only very thin foam that I have, and I love that I didn't have to cut my regular standard foam across. I'm pretty sure this foam just came from like Michael's or Joann's a million years ago, because I don't use it often. And to give myself a little extra time to work with this, I added some liquid glue across my foam as well once I had peeled off that backing paper. I'm going to go in with my Twiddler's Nook glowing stars and moons. I kind of think it's cute to have the stars and moons. If you didn't want the moons, obviously you could pick them out. Or a couple weeks ago, I made a pink and main card with just stars from This Calls for Confetti. Those were cute too, but I like the stars and moons, especially for the Halloween vibe. Once I pressed that down, we were good to go. So here's my fun shaker card. I love how the sign turned out. I think it's so cute and different. But the star of the show is this thing once it's lit up, glow in the dark. Like, are you kidding me? It's so good. So thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I hope you're inspired to do some more Halloween crafting. This is going to be part of many Halloween videos to come. Yeah, so thank you so much. And until next time, guys, happy crafting.